I watched every Tarantino movie in the past 3 days, and in this video I'll be going through what I noticed and we'll be putting each film into a tier list. You've definitely seen a tier list before, but if you don't know how it works, it looks like this, with S being the best and F being the worst. If multiple films go into the same tier, the one that's closest to the letter is ranked above it. Now, I watched 3 movies every day for the past 3 days, and this is what I came up with. I'll be going in order of release. Starting with Reservoir Dogs. Usually when I rank movies on this channel, I go through a few categories: directing and cinematography, writing, acting, pacing, story, and overall enjoyment. Tarantino was one of those directors that, in my opinion, always has a 10 out of 10 for directing and cinematography, and usually a 10 out of 10 for writing. So while it does make ranking them a little more difficult, it allowed me to focus on the overall story and enjoyment of these movies more. The acting in this movie is great. Michael Madsen, Tim Roth, Steve Buscemi, Harvey Keitel are the big names, and they all do a fantastic job. Tarantino sold his last 2 scripts before this movie, but he knew he wanted to direct this one himself. Because of the smaller budget, most of the movie takes place in one location, and it works. It reminds me of a Sidney Lumet film like Dog Day Afternoon or 12 Angry Men. But anyway, I very much enjoyed this film, and as the start to Tarantino's career, it's as good as you can ask for. I'm going to put this in B tier. Next up is Pulp Fiction, possibly Tarantino's most popular film. Pulp Fiction is iconic. The soundtrack, the dialogue, the non-linear storytelling, and the acting all elevate this movie to be Tarantino's best. Although it's a little long at 2 hours and 40 minutes, it's enjoyable and entertaining all the way through. As you can probably tell, it's my favorite of his films and easily belongs in S tier. Now, Jackie Brown is a great follow-up to Pulp Fiction, and watching Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown all on the same day was honestly a great experience. I do think this movie is underrated, as a lot of people either dismiss it or haven't even seen it. It has great performances, great dialogue, and an interesting and intriguing story that was adapted from the novel Rum Punch, the only Tarantino film to be based on another body of work. That being said, as much as I enjoy this movie, it is a weaker film than most of his others, and therefore I'm putting it in C tier. Next up is Death Proof. Now, everyone hates on this movie and calls it Tarantino's worst film, and that's because it is, but for those of you that don't know, Tarantino and his good friend and director Robert Rodriguez, who actually helped him direct his cameo scenes in Pulp Fiction, had an idea to do 2 movies in one showing as a nod to the double features they would go to as kids. Tarantino made Death Proof and Rodriguez made Planet Terror. That's why Death Proof is only an hour and 30 minutes long, because it's part of a 2-part movie double feature experience. Now, there are redeeming scenes in this movie, and it's not an awful film as a whole, but it is the weakest of his films, and therefore I'm putting it in F tier. After this is Kill Bill 1 and 2. Now, although Kill Bill 1 and 2 were released at separate times, they were filmed together and therefore count as one total film in Tarantino's discography. Kill Bill is potentially his most fun movie, with cool action and a story that doesn't take itself too seriously, like Uma Thurman being able to punch her way out of a coffin buried underground, or the gravity-defying jumps. And while I do like a lot of his other films better, the writing is still top-notch like all of his other films, and iconic soundtrack and characters make it an enjoyable watch every time. C tier. Now we're on Inglourious Basterds, and this is where we get into the point of Tarantino's career where he's just unable to miss. Writing-wise, this might be his most impressive film, as it's written in at least 4 different languages, being German, French, English, and Italian. Tarantino has always been a genre guy where all of his films are very specific in their identity, and Inglourious Basterds is his take on the war drama, and Brad Pitt being the lead is perfect, but it's Christoph Waltz who really makes this movie what it is. Maybe I'm a casual, but this movie was the first time I've heard of Christoph Waltz, which made his performance that much more impressive. Melanie Laurent's character is also an enjoyable lead, and she gives a great performance, and as Brad Pitt says at the end of the movie, it really is Tarantino's masterpiece. S tier easily. Next up is Django Unchained. Another banger 3 years later, Django might be Tarantino's most enjoyable film. Upon rewatching it, it really is crazy to see that there are no bad scenes in the entire movie, and the story just keeps moving, keeping you entertained. Like, next time you watch it, try to pick a point where the movie gets boring, and you just can't. Jamie Foxx has an amazing performance alongside Christoph Waltz, and the two of them together with the Western genre makes for Tarantino's second best film. Samuel L. Jackson, Leo, Kerry Washington, and pretty much everyone else have standout performances as well. It's just a really good movie. Go rewatch it if you get bored. Easy S tier. Now we're on The Hateful Eight. Now this movie was tough for me to rank because I do thoroughly enjoy it, but I also understand its criticisms. It's a little slow and can be somewhat drawn out in the beginning, but once you get into the thick of it at the point where someone poisons the coffee, it's great from there on out. At a 3-hour runtime, I understand it's not for everyone, but this movie is essentially Reservoir Dogs, but in a Western with a lot more money. Obviously, those two films are drastically different, but you know what I mean. Mainly one room and a bunch of characters who you're trying to place their motives to. I'm going to put it in B tier as well, but I'm going to put it above Reservoir Dogs, which I know may hurt some of you, but it had to be done. And the last film we have is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Tarantino's most recent film and maybe the one with the most mixed reviews. I'm on the side that loved this movie, but I could see the criticisms in it and understand them. People say it's slow and nothing really happens in the movie, but that's kind of the point. You're just meant to watch these two characters go about their days and just enjoy it on screen. I will say though that this movie only works because of Leo and Brad Pitt. Any other actors in these roles and the movie would have been significantly worse. That's really what I noticed upon rewatching it again. It's easily Tarantino's best directed film and possibly his most impressive production design, with them recreating Hollywood in the 70s. It's a fun movie with all the little cutaways, and the final climax of the movie makes up for any of the non-high-paced scenes. This one goes in A tier for me. So there it is, my completed list of Tarantino's films. What do you think? I'm actually curious to see your rankings in the comments below because everyone has their different opinions, so let me know and we could chat in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, I appreciate all the recent support, and I will see you guys in the next one.